In every divorce dynamic, there are two types of positions, no matter what type of divorce you're in. And today we're going to talk about them and how to identify which one you're actually in and how to navigate that particular position. Welcome, Mum.
Hello, Laura. Hi, everyone.
Now, Mum, we're going to be talking about the two types of positions, and you can have multiple positions for each type of maybe the property, the kids, the emotion, and the knowledge. But there is these two types that we're going to talk about in a moment: sitting pretty or completely overstressed about it and wanting it to sort out. Do you see that pretty much all the time?
I do see that pretty much all the time. And they can be at really extreme ends of that, each person. So yes, I see that a lot, Laura. Yep.
Yeah. And we've got great strategies for you guys today. So sit and listen, figure out which position you are in that divorce dynamic, and then take on board some of these strategies for you, because this is going to be relevant to everybody. But we'll go to our jingle.
Hello, I'm Laura Furiosi, divorced mother of 3, and I'm here with my mother, Lynette Galvin, with 35 years experience in family law. You're listening to the Divorce Course podcast. Through our candid discussions, we hope to help you through your divorce or de facto separation. We will be answering the most commonly asked questions and covering the stages and steps that you will face on your way to freedom.
So, Mum, can you explain the first dynamic position that someone might be in for divorce, which is sitting pretty? What does that mean?
Yeah. So it's an old saying, isn't it? But you're comfortable in where you're at. You've got your money sorted for every week. You may still be in the family home and you're okay. You've got absolutely no incentive to change all of that because you're sitting pretty. Yeah.
Right. So I don't know if the people watching the divorce course or listening to the divorce course are the ones sitting pretty, because usually they're the ones that are wanting to get everything done. So if you're listening to this and you're like, actually, that is me, I'm just kind of sitting around and there's no real rush, there's no real incentive, that sounds like you. Now, the other one, Mum, is the overstressed position where we are just completely overwhelmed. Can you explain that position?
Yeah. So that's an awful position to be in. Usually if one of you is sitting pretty, then the other one hasn't got what they need and they're having a little bit of a panic. It might be financial, it might be about the kids, but were overwhelmed and not sure where to start. And although they seem really different ends of the perspective, sitting pretty and overwhelmed, actually, in the end, they all benefit, I think. People benefit from coming towards the middle where each of you has a reasonable life, can live with it.
Because that overstressed position, it's usually the type of person who's, I don't know, they seem to be paying all the mortgage, paying all the bills. Maybe they're also, I don't know, paying their own rent for a new place. They've got to work and they've got to try and do all this sort of stuff, as well as navigating being divorced and breaking up with a separation. Do you see a lot? Is that mainly the people that you do see?
Yes, I think I do. I think they are the main people because you know what? They've got the incentive to change things, because when in this really stressed state, you talk about they've got a house and they're paying rent and all of that. Some people can't even sort of get that far. They are so stuck and overwhelmed. And so really the balance is so bad that they're sleeping on someone's couch and they are just barely scraping through day to day. And so they've got to at some point, they've got to gather some courage and start to change what may seem like a hopeless position. And if anyone's listening about that, it's not hopeless. It's a fairly common position to be in to start off.
And we do hear from people that say, well, I've written a letter, I've tried to talk to my ex about sorting it out, but they just ignore me. So that is that balance that they're sitting pretty, they're fine about the situation. There's no there knows. Now, we'll quickly just talk about the 4 other areas where this can work, and then we'll talk about strategies for both of these types.
For both of you, yep.
And so first of all, Mum, like we've kind of touched on already, some people are just completely, they've got all the money dramas, all the money stress, it's all on them. And that's for the people sitting pretty, they've got, you know, maybe they're given money every month, or they've got plenty of money and they don't need to worry about it at all. So, or you've never worked and you've always been the primary carer and you've got no income and they've got all the money and they've gone off and now you're just like, oh no, what am I going to do? So when it comes to money stuff, Mum, what do you say to those people who are super like stressed about it and completely unfairly, like they're not sitting pretty, they're freaking out?
Yeah. So for you guys, I mean, and we feel for you. I really feel for you. It's very hard, but that is not a situation that you should stay in. You've got to find a way to communicate with the person who's sitting pretty to get things started and start the ball rolling. And you don't have to go to court to do that. There's strategies you can use to do that.
So you can, try mediation. You can letter write.
Yeah.
Are there any other strategies for people with that stress?
Yeah, sometimes with property, you could also go on to arbitration. If you're really struggling with stress, you could ask for, spousal maintenance and child maintenance, but, if you've got kids, but some financial support to get you through. And what the Mental Practice Direction says is all of these negotiations should happen before court or instead of court. So, the law is usually wanting to do what's fair and reasonable, just and equitable. So you don't have to stay there forever, just little baby steps at a time, I think.
Yeah. And I do see a lot of people getting stuck where they're too afraid to take that next step, because if they ask for money or if they say, I don't want to pay the mortgage anymore because I'm not even living there, or I can't afford to do that, I'm trying to pay rent and bills at this place. They worry that that's going to rock the boat and there's going to be some sort of big explosion, metaphorical. Yeah. What do you say to those people?
I think that when someone's sitting pretty, there's like a fake sitting pretty, isn't there, Laura? We talk about that gilded cage, but the person who has everything, they're bluffing. They are bluffing the other person usually, unless they are actually in a trap. But if they are saying to you, this is how it should be, don't you come to me and say that, or I'm going to get angry and, might not see the kids. And so that's kind of coercive control, isn't it? Stopping you from doing what you want to do because of a fear of what their reaction's going to be.
And that can bleed in. If you're stressed about money and you're freaking out and you're not sitting pretty, but they are, and there's an unbalanced power there, that can bleed into the kids' stuff, because we've seen some people say like, oh, well, if you don't pay my mortgage, I'm not going to let you see the kids. Or, the other way is we've seen some people say, oh, if you don't drop this domestic violence order, we're going to stop giving you a car. Like there's all these they're all moves that these people, I'm not saying everyone's who's in this stressed money position is a bully, but there are two types. There's the types that are doing everything because they want to do the right thing. And then there's the type that are deliberately doing it to put the screws on to get people to settle.
Yeah, I think though we're probably a bit unkind then to people who are sitting pretty. Some people have been left in the house, maybe everything's paid, and what they don't have is independence or freedom. Some people sitting pretty have all the power and all the money, and they're really, they're the ones you poor stressed lady or man has to sort of work against. But I think the sitting pretty person can be two types. And, one thing I hear a lot, Laura, is if you do whatever, I'm going 50-50 for the kids, or if you do that, you won't get a cent out of my super. So it's kind of that bullying way. And it's because I think stressed person doesn't really know their rights, and also, and the sitting pretty person who's like a butterfly caught in a trap, they may not recognize their situation, or they may feel helpless because they've got everything. What could they possibly do?
On the lack of knowledge. And that is something that people need to really ramp up. And if they're listening to the podcast, then you're getting your way through that. If you have more knowledge, it's less easy for someone to make crap up and make you think it's not real.
Yeah, that's right.
And trick you into stuff. And I think the other thing you touched on with the sitting pretty is, yes, there's two types as well. There's the ones that are just living the best life and they're like, well, I've got no incentive to change, so I'm just going to stay the way I am. And then you've got the other type who think everything's awesome, but it's a trap. And we've talked about the gilded cage before, where their ex pays for their rent, their ex pays for their car, as long as they stay at this place and do this for them. But what's the problem? What's the trap with doing that, Mum? Why is it a bad idea?
I think that the one where you just sit tight because you've got really nothing to complain about, if you haven't got that in a final court order or an agreement, written solid agreement, that could end at any time. So maybe underneath all of that, the person who's sitting pretty, if their financial situation depends on someone else, they actually might deep down be really stressed and worried because it could all fall apart at any stage. And they're very beholden to the person who is paying things and, leaving them in the house. I think fear of the unknown for both sorts of people is the key, isn't it? It's what worries everybody.
Yeah. And then I guess, so there's the kids element, and we've talked about this. If you're sitting pretty with the children's situation, there's no motivation, I guess, if they're like, oh, well, I don't really care. I get to call the shots with the kids. So there's no motivation for them to go out and create a parenting plan or create, parenting orders. What do you say to those people? Why is it probably a good idea to get a parenting plan?
Yeah, I think sometimes, look, believe me, if it's not broken, you don't have to fix it. The kids are moving happily between the homes and there's no stressy transactions and negotiations at every turn. You might just be able to document it in an email and they write back and say, yep, that seems fine. And that is kind of your parenting plan,
Yeah.
And it's good to know. Yeah, it's good to know that, because if you start your property settlement and you say no to them, then that could become an issue, like that 50-50 with the kids. When a person knows your Achilles heel, they know what you're vulnerable about, and that can be what a person will attack. Whether you're in a golden cage or whether you're really got nothing and stressed.
So I've heard you explain a way to deal with this before, Mum, and I'm hoping you can explain it again, because you were saying something along the lines of, if they do know what your Achilles heel is, and every time you agree to something, they lock that agreement in, and then they get another agreement, and they keep saying, but if you don't agree, I'm going to do this. If you don't agree, and slowly get you to agree to all of this stuff based off this one thing. So how do you explain that, and how do people stay out?
I think that sometimes people are very strategic against the other person, whether you're in a gilded cage or whether you're stressed. So if a person is kind of, in our course, we talk about the personality types. If you've got someone who's manipulative and controlling, probably that, like a narcissistic type person, though we're not psychologists, their whole aim, it seems, is to get everything in their favor. So they'll get a little concession from you, whether you're stressed or whether you're in a gilded cage, and you'll go, all right, yep, that's fine. And they'll lock that in. And then they'll still keep asking for more things. And you'll find that they've got everything by the end of it, these little, tiny little ratcheting up. They seem to have everything they want. And you're still hoping that you'll get it.
So I guess it's like in a negotiation, everyone has to give something. Everyone has to give up a little something. But you've got to make sure that you're only giving up and compromising a little bit, not all of it. So one way you say to do that, Mum, is to make sure you agree to the agreement as a whole at the end. You don't agree to any parts of the agreement. That is what's happening to you.
That's exactly right. So you don't agree on a little point and they put that in their back pocket and then agree on the next point. And then before you know it, you've made all these concessions and they're still arguing for more. And that happens. I think that happens a lot in negotiations, in mediation and out of mediation. And so if it's stuff, let's just say it's stuff, right? Your chattels, and I call it stuff. And they really, really want something out of the house. It's usually a bit foolish to give it to them straight away. I like to, and this is, for our ears only, and our listeners' ears only. But
no one's watching. It's fine. No.
Yeah, so I like to not give them things that they really care about, because you've got to make that person who's sitting pretty, unless it's you in a gilded cage. But if the other person's sitting pretty, you've got to make them have some incentive to negotiate and settle. But if you give in on everything, they go, oh, well, that's all good now. I've got everything I want. And then you're left hanging. And we see people, don't we, Laura, with years locked in.
Yes, in this situation for years. So what you're saying is, yep, I think that's a great idea. Let's put that on your side of the ledger. And when we're finished organizing it all, you can have it. Which sounds horrible because I know so many people watching and so many people I've spoken to recently, like that I want to be seen to be doing the right thing. I don't want people to think I'm the bad guy. Or such and such said such and such, you didn't let them do this. And you just have to hold your head up high and say, I'm in the middle of negotiating. I'm a good person. I'm doing what's right.
Yes. Because you wouldn't, if you went to, I don't know, one of the electrical shops, I was going to pick on the good guys or whatever, and you were going to get some peace of mind or buy a dishwasher or something, the first thing you do is you get them to set it aside for you, but you don't get it until you give them something, which is money. So same with your properties and little bits and pieces with your ex. You can say, look, let's park it there. That's what any mediator loves, that word. Thank you for that agreement. We'll park it here and we'll deal with that at the end. And they might write it down and deal with it at the end. Mm. Sometimes if you've got a really manipulative person, it might be that is the only thing you're going to be able to agree on. But, if they're wanting it, then I would be holding back on that. And unless they need it for work or something.
Yeah. So if you're in mediation, you really need to figure out what the incentive is for them to settle. And you need to have that in knowing that. So a brainstorming strategy, sitting down with someone just to kind of lay it all out on paper. What are you willing to give up? What are you not willing to give up? And I know you hate me saying that, Mum, but it's true. At least you know in your head what it is that you're going to be doing and how you can negotiate. And I think the flip side, Mum, so, you're trying to get these people who are sitting pretty out, but you do also talk about if you are against someone who's manipulative, controlling or high conflict, you say to try that ratchet approach. So avoid it happening to you, but it is a strategy if you need to use it to lock in agreements. Yeah.
Well, yeah. But see, the only document that comes out of the mediation, the only document you're allowed to refer to are the documents that are written up at the end. So it's not locked in, but it can start them thinking about, okay, so we've agreed on the washing machine. Now we'll talk about the next thing. And now we talk about the next thing. So it is really the case that you need to work out what your true interests are. So you're a mediator, Laura, and I've mediated for years. So what you have to look at is their interests, isn't it? Not what they say, but why they say it. And the things that you can negotiate on, not just giving them their stuff or taking, or them giving you something, but there's also time. I always think you've got to remember that time is another component of a mediation or an agreement. And that is, when will this happen? So you can say, yes, I'll give you this, but it will happen 5 days after I get my things, or, you can keep down the road a little bit. And some manipulative people do it, or just as a habit, I think. But if you're up against someone who's tricky, then that's a way of doing it. So you're not saying no, but you're putting a time frame on it. And with that, I'd suggest you put a long time frame on it, and if the other person's nasty, let them bring the time back. So you might say, I'll give it to you within 60 days. And they say, no, I want it within 30. Go, fair enough. That sort of thing.
You're thinking about time as well as things.
As the asset. Yeah. Because the people who are stressed, and even to some extent, the people in the gilded cave, it's like a great big knot, isn't it? You start pulling on one end and you're trying to unravel everything. And there's so many, there's the emotions, there's other people, there's the finances, there's business stuff. It's all in there. And you've got to start picking it out a bit at a time to make it less complicated. And so I don't like to think of mediations as fail, because like we say in the course, it's just an opportunity to continue the negotiation by letter when you go home.
And you've touched on emotion. And I think that is also, there can be two types of positions in the divorce. You've got the ones who are super stressed and super upset about it, and they just want it sorted so that they can get that horridness out of their brain and move on and be focused on being positive. And then you've got the other ones on the other side, they're sitting pretty with emotion. They're kind of okay with the divorce. They're just, whatever. Yeah. And I'm happy to be separated under one roof forever. I'm just going to do this forever because I don't really mind. I don't care that you're here or you're not here. So there are those two types of emotions that can come out of divorce dynamic. And I'm guessing, Mum, you always see the ones that are like, I just want this sorted because I'm sick of sharing a house with this person, or I'm emotionally a wreck.
If you're separated or about to be and you need to get everything finalized and sorted, but you don't know what to do next,
or you're looking for a way to do your own divorce and settlement without spending thousands of dollars on lawyers, then you already know what you need to do, and that is to sign up and become a member of the DIY Divorce Blueprint. Empower, educate, and equip yourself with the legal know-how and the tools you need to get divorced or de facto separated and finally set. Work through this course at your own pace without feeling confused, lost, scared, or overwhelmed of all the family law legal jargon and process. Let us walk with you through this journey and show you a better way.
So the court, it used to for years say that unless someone did something wrong, they were both entitled to stay in the house. The Family Law Act now recognises that it's not right for two people to have to stay. It's unreasonable for people to stay in one house. So if you had to, you could sever that and threaten you might go to court and get like independent residences. But yeah, I think that person who's comfortable in there says they can go on forever. They've probably been the ones who planned the breakup. Sometimes they go straight to a new partner's house. They planned the breakup. And so they may have been grieving and trying a year ago. You might remember maybe they were wanting to go to counselling and all of this, and it hasn't happened. And then it seems like all of a sudden the marriage blows up or the relationship blows up. But actually one of you is prepared, probably already seen a lawyer, has a game plan, and the other one is still sitting on the floor. Just what happened? Because everyone has a little fight. Who doesn't fight in a relationship? But one day, sometimes someone just says something and it's over and you are completely gobsmacked.
Yeah. And I think I've been speaking to a lot of people recently and they're still together. They're still like, they know it's coming. They know it's going to happen soon and they want to get things sorted. But at the same time, it hasn't happened yet. And I always try and point out, look, if you can see it's coming, sometimes the other side also can see it's coming. Yeah. And like Mum, sometimes, and we've seen this a lot with people going to marriage counselling, which I think is great. Please go to marriage counselling if you can fix your marriage, do that if it's safe. Sometimes when you're going to marriage counselling, these people find out later while they were doing that, their ex was lining up all their money and moving it into offshore accounts or whatever it is that they're doing. So they're prepping behind the scenes. So don't think for a minute that your partner isn't also thinking the same way you're thinking because it's you agree. But it's always somebody that has well advanced prepared and the other person who's put off guard.
Yeah. They used to say that it was a person who leaves and I used to have clients and they just didn't see it coming. And they've already usually a year of going through the grief process. Denial, they want to go to mediation, then they get angry for a while and then they just accept that it's over and then it's over. But sometimes if you didn't see it coming or you know it's coming to an end, and I'd say that to the person that's in that house and the partner may or may not know, is what often happens is that and I'd love people to say in the comments without identifying themselves, but what happens is often that it's at night or it's on a weekend and suddenly it's gone. And I mean, we've seen people have an argument, they get in the car and go, and that's the last night they ever spend in the house.
Kind of like planning for your baby. Your baby never comes on the day that they say it's going to come unless you're extremely lucky. It's going to come when it comes. And so you need to be prepared. And I think, Mum, for those people who are sitting pretty where they're in maybe that gilded cage trap where their ex is paying for their mortgage, they're paying the electricity, they're paying for the car. And they're like, well, I don't really actually need to do anything. This is fine. I can live like this for a bit longer. You say start planning just in case. Because one day they partner and just turn it off. And then you're screwed.
That's right. You need to start thinking about how to get your own independence and your normal. And one of the things, Laura, as a sitting pretty person or a highly stressed person might not realize is that the clock starts ticking. If you're de facto, you have only got 2 years from the date of separation. From the date someone says, that's it, gets in the car and drive off, that becomes the date of separation. You've got 2 years from that date. So you don't have a lot of time either to be sitting pretty or to be stressed. You do have to pull yourself up and have a look what you're looking for in terms of property settlement, because otherwise, when the deadline goes, you may end up being stuck with whoever name is on the mortgage or on the house or whoever's name is the car. And marriage rates too. I want to remind our listeners, if you're married and you get a divorce, that the clock starts then and that goes for a year. So you all have to get some legal advice so you know what your time frame is and you're not accidentally getting negotiating. And then someone goes, oh, well, look at that. Time's up. Yeah.
And that is a big trap. And this is Australian law, of course. So this is only Aussie law. And please get your independent legal advisors. This is just legal education and a chat. But I think that's right, because you could be sitting pretty going, this is great, awesome, everything's been paid for, I don't need to stress. And then that time limit comes up and they just pull the pin. Or they get a partner and they pull the pin. Or they have a baby and they pull the pin. So there's so many things that if you are sitting pretty and you're just like, I don't really need to be stressing too much about this. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to say, be prepared. Mum, you say that the really main thing that you said is find an incentive. If those people are really stressed about money, kids, so what kind of incentives do you find?
I think if you are the person who is stressed or supporting the person who's sitting pretty, I think you need to talk about, write to them and give them maybe an intention to file proceedings and just generally dislodge them. Sometimes if you're paying the mortgage and your rent and they've got money, sometimes people stop paying that mortgage. So that's the flip side. If you're stressed and trying to pay everything, maybe sometimes someone would stop paying the mortgage and that gives the other person an incentive. But it can be a bit mean, particularly if they don't have income. And if they've got kids, it can really backfire badly. So for God's sake, get some legal advice on that. Don't do that.
Financial abuse as well. So be really careful with that.
Yeah, that's right. And don't ring them up too often or try and engage them in conversations when they don't want to do, because you might get hit with the family violence order. So there's a way to go about this. And I think we've got template letters. So if you know what sort of personality you're dealing with, at least go through the steps you have to take under the central practice direction. And that should bring them pretty well to the table, because there are consequences for not engaging in mediation. There are consequences for not genuinely negotiating.
And I guess that is the incentive, them knowing that there's going to be a consequence for not going to mediate.
And sometimes it costs, Laura. So if you ended up having to go to court ever, if you've done all your pre-action procedures, then and they don't follow it, maybe they don't listen to the course or they haven't seen a lawyer. When you get to court, the court may well and often does slap them with a costs order against them. So they have to pay your legal fees because you're only there because that person wouldn't engage in mediation and the court sends you back to mediation.
Okay, so if you're listening today or watching today, I want you to just put everything that you're doing down, unless you're driving and unless you're holding a baby. But I want you to think right now, am I the one who's sitting pretty or am I the one who was completely overstressed? And then I want you to think about it in regards to money. Are you sitting pretty with money or are you super overstressed with money? Are you sitting pretty with kids or are you super stressed with kids? Are you completely over emotionally or are you just completely fine with that? Or are you also stressing out because you don't have the knowledge? Or are you completely fine because you're like all over it? You've seen a lawyer, you know exactly what you're doing. Those are the areas that you can really work on, and you can flip the scales or move the scales. So if you are the one who is super stressed about kids or money, you can move that scale by learning about it yourself, by getting some independent legal advice and starting it going. It's a bit like divorce limbo, Mum. And like we've got a great episode on divorce limbo that you can go and listen to. But if you get stuck in this limbo of just keeping on, we get it, because you've still got to work. You've still got to take the kids to school. You've still got to do the groceries. You've still got to clean the house. Like your life keeps going, but you've just got this thing hanging over your head that has not been sorted. And you need just literally identifying which area it is you need to work on and push and find some incentives to push it to a conclusion.
Because I've never seen anyone ever in my 36 years odd who was not happy to get it all finished. It's like walking out into sunshine. So that's your incentive that I want to get the other side of this so I can live my life without shadow over me. And I do think the gilded cage people, the sitting pretty people, even if you've got everything and you say, I think deep down there's this gnawing fear about what would happen if the other person starts agitating. So I think it's in everyone's interest, and especially if there's kids. Dragging the dispute out is really bad for kids. Not that you're doing it on purpose, Laura. You get stuck and you can ignore it because you're getting into your day to day. But really, everyone will be better off, I think, if you can sort it out.
Well, I did see someone saying the other day, we're going to just stay separated under one roof until the kids are old enough. But then they were asking for mental health tips for children. And you really do need to understand that the kids pick up on this they're smart. You don't have to, it's a good idea and there's ways to tell the kids that you're getting separated, but kids pick up on this stuff really quickly and they know what's going on. And if you keep living that kind of lie and that kind of, they're going to have a really warped understanding of what love is. They're going to have a really horrible feeling around them. And I do hear people saying, but I want the kids to stay in the house so they've got stability. There's no stability in a house of two people who no longer love each other. And sometimes moving into a small apartment for kids is like the same things you said, Mum, walking into a ray of sunshine because there's freedom. There's no heaviness there. And it's light and love again. And they can see that you're happy and they can see dad's happy, or, they can see both parents are happy now and they will feel better. Whilst you feel like you're uprooting them and it's ruining them. And if you speak to kids who've gone through divorce, a lot of them say they wish their parents, if they were separated under one roof, had, sorted it out sooner, because the longer a divorce drags on, the more harm it is for the kids.
And you think about, you bring the little baby home, right? Little newborn, and they're a toddler. By about 3, they are very good at reading your mood and the other parent's mood, because they depend on you two. So they're very aware of moods and behaviors. So from 3 years old until about 14, when they can start to see themselves as separate. So that's 11 years. That's all the childhood they really have. So if you fight for 3 years, or if you stay together under one roof for the majority of that, you may be blighting their childhood and making their childhood miserable, because even if you think you're hiding it, like you said, Laura, the kids know you, and they're often, like the teenage kids are often more astute at picking things up than you do.
We're not judging. Our dynamic is really important for you to just be aware of. Which one are you in? Are you the sitting pretty one, or are you the overstressed one? If you are the overstressed one, get cracking, get on it, get moving, make your life better. And if you're the sitting pretty person who everything's just been looked after and you don't need to stress, just be aware that there could be a cliff coming up and you need to have a parachute ready to rock, because you don't want to end up surprised or everything just falls apart one day and you've now got to do everything and fast forward to get yourself in a safe and healthy situation. Mum, is there anything you wanted to add on to that for those people who maybe who want to push for mediation? They want to get into mediation and they're hoping for the best, that's going to help. Any tips?
Yeah, I think that the way that the system is set up now, where there's a real strength push towards mediation, you need to get the other person out of their comfort zone, but you in a way are in a comfort zone, because if you're not doing anything about it and you're stressed, that's a state that you need to try to pull yourself out of. And it's all very well for me to say that, and I've been there, but it's a thing you need to do.
It's like playing Jenga, I think. And you've got this big tower stack and you're like, okay, we're separating, and you pull a block out and it gets wobbly, but it steadies itself and you're like, phew. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, well, I need to move out and move somewhere else. So you pull another block out and it wobbles and you're like, oh, it didn't fall over, phew. And then you've got to pull another block out because you don't want to have to pay the mortgage, but you're too scared. What if it all falls down? Or, so you do have to steady yourself and do it bit by bit and get yourself out of the situation. Because I do that. There's a lot of people stuck with these Jenga towers. They're afraid to do anything else because they're worried the tower's going to topple. But Mum, the tower never topples, does it? It's just part of the divorce.
Yeah, I reckon the delay, if you do delay, you're just putting off the inevitable and sometimes making it a bit more expensive to go through disclosure and stuff. But look, it's very hard to just do it. So no judgments, particularly if you've been in an abusive relationship of some sort or some sort of controlling relationship. It takes a lot. Look after yourself, do some nice things for yourself, and then just take baby steps, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, as you guys all know, we've got our divorce course blueprint available at the moment. You can jump on our website, thedivorcecourse.com.au, and you can actually enroll. And we've got, what are we up to? I think we've got 7 days left of enrollment. So if you're interested, and we literally will walk you through those steps and help you, whether you're sitting pretty person or you're the one who's completely stressing out because you're doing everything. Don't worry. We can walk you through the process. And we can show you how to incentivize the other party to get involved. We can show you ways to leverage those types of personalities, whether they're avoidant, amicable, manipulative, controlling, or high conflict. There are ways to fix these things. And we have seen so many of our members go through this on either side of this divorce dynamic, whether they're the sitting pretty or whether they're the super stressed. And we've seen them come out the other end in their new life. It's a great feeling, isn't it, Mum? To see these people get, and you can too. So we wish you all the best. If you're in this, it is a really good dynamic to be aware of and to make sure that you don't just stay stuck in that dynamic, because it's not good for either side to be in this. So you need to fix the scales and you need to keep ripping that Band-Aid off and keep doing the work to get yourself out.
Yeah, you're right, Laura. That idea of ripping the Band-Aid off is I used to say, you can do it 2 ways. One is to rip it off and the other way is one hair at a time. If you've been listening to us, there's lots of information that we've given you. So if you've been listening to us and you do the course, then it goes much more in depth and it's all collated and you get to see a path. There's a proven path that people follow. Hundreds and hundreds of people have done it with our course. And you get out the other end and saving usually a small fortune in legal fees, but getting your outcome at the end.
Saving your mental health.
Yes. So, and we're very up to date in it. We did all of the new laws that came in May of this year. Mm-hmm. And I tell you how to use the pre-action procedures. So yeah, it is lovely. It's better than seeing clients one at a time. Being able to help hundreds of people at once is great.
Yeah. And Mum has mentioned the central practice directions a few times. So whilst it's also in our course, I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. I think we might have done an episode on central practice directions. So if we have, I'll pop that in as well. You can listen to that. Thank you, Mum, so much for your time. And thank you to everybody. Feel free to comment below on any other topic ideas you've got, or you can email us at the divorce course podcast@gmail.com. And as well as that, we have Patreon. If you'd like to join us on Patreon, Mum does Cases Explained, and we usually have little worksheets that go with episodes like this, just to, help add an extension to what we've discussed today.
And that's not very expensive, is it, Laura?
$10, I think. $10
a month.
We're wishing you all the best and get out of that divorce dynamic right now. That's my takeaway today. Thank you, Mum.
That's great. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone.
If you found this podcast helpful, we'd love it if you could rate, review and subscribe. By doing so, you are spreading the word to help someone else just like you. Lynn would like to remind you that this podcast is general advice only, and you should always get legal advice in relation to your particular situation. And remember that the Australian laws may have changed since recording.